loaf of bread that was precious because it was so little. My mother would bring home what they called the Vienna loaf. I remember one particular loaf of bread, and we were so hungry I could still taste it. So poverty does make things precious. It turns everything into jewelry.
Frank McCourt was born in Brooklyn, New York in 1930. The McCourt family lived there until his youngest sister died at only 1 week. After their loss, the family moved to Ireland. Frank was the oldest of 7 children. Since his father could not find steady work, the family moved to Limerick.
He grew up in poverty. Although many people would think of that as a bad thing, McCourt had somewhat of an appreciation of how he grew up. He believes that poverty is precious because it turns everything into jewelry. He didn't get much, so when he did, he found it to be so much more special than wealthy people would.
Frank's father was an alcoholic. The McCourt family only had one income, and that was all from their father. Unfortunately, their father would spend all of the money he earned to support his alcohol addiction. You would figure that Frank's mother would try and get a job, but she had way too many children to take care of.
As a child, due to living in poverty, Frank wasn't fortunate enough to have television or electricity of any sort. Frank's mother would go to the movies and tell the family what happened in a detailed, entertaining manner. The family appreciated this. They would all look forward to hearing their mother tell them stories.
Frank McCourt grew an interest for writing at a young age. He thought of it as magic to be able to put his thoughts down on paper, and it could be then called a story. Frank was thought of as a very bright student by his teachers. He was an overachiever. He always pushed himself to do the best he could, sometimes even more than he had to. When he was on the schoolyard, his classmates would pick on him because his teacher would always read his essays to the class.
Since McCourt was thought of to be so smart, one of his favorite teachers would call him a literary genius. Despite McCourt's intelligence, he was not able to go to secondary school because only middle-class and upper-class children got that advantage. Sadly, Frank had to end school at the age of only 14.
The men got out of work out of the factories and the timber yards and the cement factories at 5:30. They would come home on Friday night, most of them, wash themselves to here, from here to here, never below. No, people didn't touch themselves with water from one end of the ear to the other. They come home, wash their hands, throw water on their faces, have their Friday night tea, which was an egg, because it was Friday. And then the women would give them the price of a few pints, and they'd go out and they'd have a few pints, talk, sing a few songs, come home, have tea, go to bed, and go to work the next morning. 5:30 they were out. By 6 o'clock, most of them were home for that wash and that tea. The Angelus would ring all over Limerick in all the churches, and the women would wait, but my mother would wait on tenterhooks. If he wasn't home by 6 o'clock, boom, boom, bong, bong, all around the city. If he wasn't home by the time the Angelus rang, he wasn't coming home. And then she'd sink deeper and deeper into the chair by the fire, because we knew then the wages were gone, and he'd arrive home after the pubs were closed, roaring and singing down the lane, Roddy McCauley Goes to Die and all the patriotic songs. He grieved over Ireland and didn't care if we starved to death that night and the next day.
After leaving school, McCourt got a job at the post office. He worked there for only a few years. After that, he got a more official job from a man he met on a ship. The old man also got him a room to stay in.
The room McCourt was staying in was called Biltmore Hotel. Frank McCourt enjoyed having an apartment and a job handed to him by the man, and he was very appreciative of the things he had.
Since he was such a considerate, loving person, he would send half of the money he earned back to his mother. He would earn only $26 a week, keeping only $13 to himself.
McCourt only spent 2 years working there. He was later drafted to the Korean War. He spent 2 years training dogs. After that, he became a clerk.
Frank McCourt became to be a very successful man, especially from where he started. He went from being at rock bottom all the way to a successful writing career. Frank McCourt is inspiring because he shows people with little hope that anything is possible.
He has written plenty of successful books, but one of our all-time favorites is Angela's Ashes. This book is considered a memoir and is based on his life living in poverty in Limerick.
In 1997, he won the Pulitzer Prize, and in 1996, he received the National Book Critics Circle Award for his memoir, Angela's Ashes. He deserved it all.